Hey, what's up? This is Silas. In this video, I'm going to be talking about this thing Michelle Obama said and how it's kind of, I thank her for saying that because it's one of those things where you've been thinking about something and you think, okay, maybe that's not quite it, and then somebody comes out and says something and it kind of reinforces what you're thinking about. You say, okay, yeah, maybe that is it. In this case, it's about how people see race and tribes in the United States of America. And there was this sign I made. I was following the political process in the United States of America rather closely, and there's this sign I made for the Women's March. This is a sign. It says, Trump is a white male. So, this sign, when I was first making this sign, this was for the Women's March in DC after going to the inauguration. I had a time there, I was like, okay, I'm enjoying this. I think this is a positive thing for the country, for the little that I know, from what I've seen, from the stories and back and forths. And the main issue I saw people had was that he was a white male. So I made this sign thinking, okay, they're going to tell. They're going to tell I'm trolling them. They're going to tell this is a joke. But people were actually supporting the sign. And since then, I've had continual reminders that that's the thing. And I keep coming back to it and thinking, that can't really be it. I mean, there's got to be something else besides this idea that Trump is a white male or that it's white males doing this. But it keeps coming back and it keeps being reminder and reminder and reminder and example to why that seems to be the core issue with a lot of these people. Now, what I'm trying to say here is not necessarily just all white people, all white males, because there are a lot of white males on the side of the people who do seem to have an objection with Trump and other people because of their white maleness. It's the definition of white male that they come to. There's a tribe of sorts, and that's one thing that I think is a lot easier for me to understand that some people can't. It's like, I'm here in Nairobi, Kenya. People vote on tribal lines here. They clearly vote on tribal lines. They don't even lie about it. They don't even come out about it. The politicians themselves openly do it. They'll openly go on giving a political campaign speech and speak in the tribal tongue. They're openly speaking in the language where they understand that a good percentage of the population will not understand that what this person is saying. They'll actually bring the tribal elders. The council of tribal elders will be sitting there, and then these people are shown there, and they do understand that there's still very close tribal ties, very close ties to the actual villages. So they understand that they'll come back, and they'll go back to the villages, they'll go back to their towns, they'll go back to their tribal lands, and spread around that you should vote for these people. And these are people who, when it comes to a situation like that, they still have the seniority, they still have that kind of idea where they'll just say whatever the elders say is what we go with. And I would see that, and it's very easy to see in those terms, laid out in those terms as it is here in Kenya, but it's not that easy to see in the United States of America. And this is the thing about the United States of America. It's still human beings. So many of the typical or the basic behavioral patterns that you see in developing countries in less, I don't want to say civilized, less complicated places, may seem to not exist, but they have just morphed and exist in a different way. There's still a council of elders in the United States of America, Michelle Obama being one of them. She's now an elder, they say the elder statesman, they say these celebrities, oh, this celebrity has been famous for this long, or this person has been here for that long. And that gives that person a certain cachet. That gives a person a certain level of importance in the society where people just say, I'm going to do what this person says. This is my hero. This is the person I look up to. So they'll just be like that council of tribal elders. And those council of tribal elders will be pulled into the political process by the political leaders. The political leaders will be talking in their certain language, and that will speak to the certain people there where they understand. There's so many situations where I've seen, are these two sides or are these three or four people listening to the same speech? Because they'll say the words and then one side will freak out and the other side will be like, yeah, this is the greatest thing ever. That's because it's a different language. They may be using the same words, but it's a different language. Here in Kenya, the different tribal tongues are different words, but they're still using the same sounds. But because those sounds are arranged in different ways and to make words that don't really sound the same, it's easier to think, okay, it's easier to realize it's a different language. But in English, if somebody's using the same words but organizing them in a different way, it's not as easy for us to see that, look, for these people, that word means an entirely different thing than it does to these other people, even though it is the same exact word, sounding the same exact way, spelled the same exact way. So that's one thing that I'm thanking her for, this constant reminder. So let me actually get to the actual quote of what she said, and then you can see what you think. Link to the article will be below. So she was speaking about diversity in this. Obama said, "We should be working actively to mix it up, so we're getting a real broad range of perspectives on every issue. I would see that in Congress." Sorry. So that's the thing. She's saying you need the diversity. For them, it's like, yes, just mixing it up in this diversity sense gives a broad range of perspectives. Because for her, in her definition, in her mind, they actually see these groups as diverse people. They see it that way, where it's like, look, if you are black, like she considers herself to be, she sees the world in her tribe in an intrinsically different way than other people would. Now, at this point, I will add the caveat that she might be in a situation where some people might be saying, okay, she's just using this to break down society. But no, I do truly think there are people here who are collectivists in that sense, that they look at people in groups. They say, black people, whatever they mean, is this black group. White people are this group. Latinos are this group. And they think in this way, they act in this way, and they won't act and think in a similar way than this other group. So we should just have them in there. I don't think it's necessarily just a weapon to just destroy things. Now, going further, she explained, at the State of the Union address, when you are in the room, what you can see is a real dichotomy. It's a feeling of color almost. On one side of the room is literally gray and white. Literally, that is the color palette of one side of the room. On the other side of the room, there are yellows and blues and whites and greens. Physically, there's a difference in color, in the tone, because on one side, all men, all white. On the other side, some women, some people of color. She continued, I look at that and I go, no wonder we struggle. No wonder people don't trust politics. We're not even noticing what these rooms look like. She added, if people haven't the experience of being other and our, if people haven't had the experience of being other and out, and you are trying to fix the problem of those folks, it's hard to come up with the right answer when you haven't lived it. So, right there, I mean, definitely thank her. I'm thanking her for saying this. And I think you guys should be thankful also for her just coming out and saying this, and for people actually just coming out and honestly saying what they think and what they feel. And for you guys to actually hear it and say, what exactly does that mean? What does it mean to yourself if you see the world in that way? Now, this lived experience. First of all, with this one, I always ask people, if she's talking about how negative it is to be a white male, if she's saying she's been other and out, so her lived experience is being other and out, yet she says white males, the kind of white males she's talking about have never been other and out, so they can't speak about the experience of what being other and out is, then can she, as somebody who's been other and out, ever speak about the experience with somebody who hasn't been other and out? You know, it's kind of the whole thing. It's like, oh, if you've never been rained on, you can't speak about how it's been rained on. Then I'm like, okay, if you've been rained on, you can't speak about how it's been to never have been rained on. I need to say that clearer in a later video. But just trying to finish this off, I thank her for this, because she's definitely stated her stance. And now, how is it if you saw the world this way? If you saw the world in that you are an other and out, you are always on the outside, and we don't trust you because it's all white male, because Trump is a white male. That's what they're talking about. And now I've seen this thing happening now. People on the right, a lot of white males are now starting to come together with this group tribal politics. And again, tribal because, sorry, this is a little of going on the side on it, a little digression. There was this article about Black Students' Unions claiming that Ivy League schools shouldn't let African students in, because that shows it's not necessarily just about skin color. It's a tribe, it's also the culture, it's also the behavior into it. And they have a uniquely one in there. So that's the same thing when it comes to what's happening in some white male communities. I've seen it lesser. Okay, maybe I know less white females or Caucasian, recent European descent females. Okay, I'm just going to use white just for for simplicity of the term. Okay, I've seen that more in some white groups where there's white nationalism, white identitarianism coming up, where they're saying they're grouping together. They're saying these other groups have their identity tribal politics, so let's do it too. Now, are you considering group and identity politics to be a positive thing? If you are, then okay, then it should be positive that they're doing it, and don't just say, oh, if they think it's good to do it, then we're going to do it too. I mean, some people use that argument and they say if people are going to do it anyway, we might as well do it as well. Fair enough to you, and I'm not completely against that because I am also trying to find my own tribe, trying to build my own tribe because with my living situation, traveling around, it wasn't as easy to glob onto the Luya tribe, which my people are from, my ancestors are from. Even though that tribe truly still exists in the basic sense of tribe, it still has a language, it still lives in ancestral lands, probably still have their myths about history, they still have, I said, their language, their genetics is still rather similar, where you can physically see somebody and be like, yeah, that person's from the Luya tribe, that person's from the Kikuyu, from a different tribe. You can still tell them those things. And still with that, I have had difficulty trying to understand, okay, how am I going to be a part of this tribe that has never really been that close of a part of my personal life, of my lived experience. Like you said, it's not something that you lived. Now this has happened with some white people as well. White Western culture in general broke a lot of these tribal lines down and started going to more with individualism and more on thoughts, or more on ideals, and more on they say the Western Greco-Roman Christian, I think they normally turn Christian in there. The Western Greco-Roman philosophy, where it's about individualism, it's about the person, it's about changing who you are, it's about thoughts, it's about asking questions about the world, it's about reason, things like that, has united these countries. Where, in my understanding, people left Europe to come to the United States of America because in Europe it was like, you have to live this way, you have to do things this way. In the United States of America it was like, you can come here, and you had that laissez-faire type thing where you could come to the United States and you could do you, as long as you kind of meshed together the people there, you didn't aggress against people. Okay, the non-aggression principle wasn't a full-on thing in the establishment of the United States, of course, but it was a thing where people could come around and actually try newer things and be freer. Like I said in that video of the Declaration of Independence, where it seems to have switched around. People wanted more freedom, and now it's gone around to more dependence. So people kind of were going away from the whole tribe thing, because if they wanted the tribe thing, they could just stay in the tribal lands in Europe. They could stay wherever the countries they had where those tribes were established. But no, they decided to come to the United States of America and build something new. So, as I said, for me, I've had that experience where it's hard for me to try to understand what the Luya tribe is, or if I should be a part of that. And I'm seeing that with white males now, with this identitarian movement. They're going to something where it was like, okay, that was never really a part of my life. We've actually left that behind because we thought it's going to improve society. And I think Western countries are doing better for that. There's some arguments about if not yes or not. But they've been successful at letting go of some of these things. And now they're kind of pulling them back in. And I'm wondering, is that truly a positive thing? Is that something that can be done? Is it part of your lived experience for this to be it? So now they're trying to pull different things from here and there to try to understand, yes, this is what it is. This is what it means to be in this white male tribe. And an odd thing about that is this, is they're saying, don't hold us responsible, or we shouldn't feel guilty for what a few white people in the past did negatively. Or, for example, that horrific situation right now that just happened in Las Vegas with that shooter who shot, I think it was 58 people dead now, about over 500 people injured in the chaos that happened, so bullets, people being trampled, etc., etc. They're saying, okay, this should be a white shooter problem, it's a white male problem. But they're saying, don't treat us off of that. Yet at the same point, to reestablish this white tribe of theirs, they're doing a similar thing and saying, look, these few white people in the past did these positive things, or these few white people today, like, I don't know, Bill Gates or something, have built computers, and that's part of our pride. So they're saying we shouldn't feel guilty about what a few white people did. Don't say that's all white people. Yet, what a few good, sorry, what some good people did, what a few good white people did, that's all white people. So you got to pick one. Is it either you are an individual, you should be treated on your own merits, or are you going to take the good and the bad of group politics, of group identity politics? And that's what I'm asking all people. That's what I'm asking people like Michelle Obama. That's what I'm asking people in the white nationalist movements. That's what I'm asking everybody else out there. What exactly are you defining your tribe on? Who are you going to latch on to? And that's a question that I ask myself. What am I defining my tribe on? And for me, I like non-aggression principle. I like individualism. I like, in general, conservatism when it comes to politics. I like communication when it comes to communication, when it comes to talking to people. I like that level of honesty. Those are things that I'm looking for. I don't know what you guys want to define your tribes on, but I suggest not just falling back onto skin color, because we've been there, done that, and I don't think much positive comes from that. But of course, I could be completely biased on that one. And that's it for this video. There's a few things in this video I touched on that I'll probably pull out more, especially like my whole like hunt for a tribe thing, but to try to define more what I consider to be a tribe, what efforts I've been putting together to kind of define what my tribe is, and also just try to understand more what are established tribes, how did tribes come to be. But yeah, there's actually another video on that I think you guys should check out in the You Are What You Consume series. We're talking about how something, because another thing that happens with tribes and races and things like that is the foods. It's another thing that comes up in the United States a lot. Where they're like, oh my God, like we need to. I mean, how about all the great foods that we have from these other countries? Like that's a great thing that they've given us. And yes, there's a whole thing. Even in certain tribes, how does a tribe become food? And that's one thing me and my friend Steven talked about. We're like, how does it come from something where it's this one family happens to make this in the kitchen, and then passes it on to the neighborhood, and passes it on to the town, and then in maybe a generation or two that becomes part of the cuisine. So even tribes themselves that have certain cultures, certain identities, they're things that develop within that from a grassroots point or from a singular point that develop into something larger. So yeah, well, I thought this was going to be more of a shorter video. I was going to go this long on this, but a lot of different topics on this, and I'll try to get into it more later. But as I said, there's going to be links to the article, what Michelle Obama said. Do you guys think it was more identitarian politics? Do you think she was just breaking it down? What's your experience with it? What tribe do you feel like you're a part of? And yeah, as I said, remember, Donald Trump is a white male. Goodbye.